Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is Lenti. So with Nani, today I bring you a detailed tutorial on how to make an off-shoulder princess that Bustier. If you're new to this channel, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us. To my returning subscribers, I love you. Thank you for always being here. Now for an off-shoulder, we always take out 4 to 6 inches, 7 inches depending on your preference. So for this tutorial, I'm doing 5 inches off the shoulder. Okay, so I'm placing my tape at 5 inches. Then I'll start taking my vertical measurement. So my bust point is 11. I'll add half inch to it. That's 11.5. My UnderBust is 15. I'll add half inch. That's 15.5. My half length is 18. I'll mark 18.5. Okay, that's for seam allowance. Then if you want to make this into a full blouse, you're going to mark your blouse length for me, which is 27 plus 2 inches hemming allowance. Okay, and you extend all the points in a straight line. Now if you're a beginner and you're wondering how I got all these vertical lines, your bust point is just the distance from the nape of your neck to the top of your nipple. That's your bust point. So when you check that measurement accurately, you get your bust point. Then the underbust is from the nape of the neck to under your bust, where you would feel the bra wire. Okay, your under bra wire, where you feel it, that's your underbust. Then the half length is the measurement or the distance from the nape of the neck to 2 inches before your navel. That's your half length. Okay, then the blouse length is just from the nape of your neck to where you want the blouse to stop or end. Okay, so that's how I got about this measurement. That's how I came about these measurements. Okay, so if you're a beginner, that's how to get them. Now this is the bust point. Okay, this is the underbust. I'm labeling them now. This is the half length, then this is the blouse length. Okay, if you want to make it into a full blouse, and this is the hemming allowance. Okay, so I'm explaining how you get it into a full blouse, and also if you want it to be at the half length, right? So the next line to mark is your chest line. Chest line is just the distance from the nape of the neck to where you have your armhole, and it's derived by dividing your bust measurement by 6 plus 2 inches. So my bust is 44 divided by 6 gave me 7.3. So I add 2 inches to that and gave me 9.3. So I'll approximate it to 9.5. So that's how I have this line I'm marking now, and this line is the chest line, right? So I have all my vertical points now, so I'll start drafting my pattern. All right, so now what I'm going to do is to mark quarter of the bust measurement on the chest line. Okay, so when I say quarter of the bust measurement, I mean my bust measurement divided by 4. Now my bust is 44 divided by 4 is 11. So on the chest line, I'm going to mark 11 inches. Okay, so that's how you do it. Then on the half length, I'm going to mark quarter of the waist, which is the same as the waist divided by 4. All right, so my waist is 42 divided by 4 gave me 10.5. Now on the blouse length, I'm going to mark quarter of the hip measurement. Okay, so that's the hip divided by 4. Right, so I'll add 2 inches seam allowance to all my markings. Okay, so to the chest line, to the half length, and to the blouse length, I'm adding my 2 inches side seam allowance. All right, so because it's a bustier, you can also impute your underbust circumference. Okay, so for me it's 40 divided by 4, that's 10 plus 2 inches seam allowance. So I'm going to use the not so curvy part of my ruler to connect the points. Then when I get to the half length, I'll then use the curvy part of my ruler to make the hip curve. Right, so this is it. Now to the upper part where we would have the shoulder measurement. All right, so normally you just mark half of your shoulder, but because this is an off shoulder, okay, you're going to subtract 2 inches from half of your shoulder. Let me explain that for you to understand. Now my shoulder is 18 inches. All right, so because we are folding the pattern, we're going to divide. My shoulder is 16, sorry, not 18. Okay, you're going to divide it by 2, and that gave me 8. All right, because I'm folding my pattern, so I'm dividing it by 2. All right, so 8 inches minus 2, because it's an off shoulder, will give me 6. Okay, so that's 6 inches, and that would be my neck width. Okay, so that's how to derive your neck width for an off shoulder. Take away 2 inches from half of your shoulder measurement. Okay, and shoulder is 16 divided by 2 is 8. Okay, so when I take out 2 inches from that 8, that gives me 6. So I'm going to connect that 6 inches to the chest line, okay, in a slanted line or in a slant line. Now I'll start marking my nipple to nipple, or the bust palm measurement. Okay, So my bust span is 8 divided by 2, that's 4. Then I add half inch seam allowance 8, and that's 4.5. So I'm marking 4.5 on the under bust, the half length, the blouse length, and the seam allowance. Now if you're wondering how to get the nipple to nipple measurement, just as the name implies, okay, measure from one nipple to the other. Now if you want to make this a full length blouse, okay, you're going to add 1 inch, okay, to the bust span line at the blouse length. Okay, you're going to mark 1 inch. Okay, so it's going to flare out a little bit so that it's not just going to be straight along the length of the blouse. All right, so then you connect it to the half length. That's if you want a full length blouse. Okay, you want to make it into a full top or a full blouse. Okay, but I want mine to stop at the half length. Okay, so I wouldn't be doing this. That's why I used a blue pen to, you know, explain it. Okay, so I'm explaining if you want to have it, if you want to have it at the half length and attach a peplum to it. All right, so now for the under bust curve, okay, I'm going to mark 2 inches towards the side front and 1 inch towards the center front. Okay, so this is 2 inches and this is 1 inch towards the center front. Right, okay, so you know I usually use my underbust chart for this. All right, so for my underbust chart, my dart input is supposed to be 2 inches. Okay, then towards the center front it's supposed to be half inch, so I just took out half inch from, okay, so for my underbust chart it's supposed to be 2.5. okay, so I just took out half inch from the 2.5. That's how I got 2 inches that I marked on the side front. Then I added the extra half inch to the center front. That's how I now have 1 inch there. Okay, because I want this cup to be very full. All right, so I had to divide the dart. Okay, so I'll connect from the half length to the bust point. Okay, then I also mark the same thing at the blouse length and to the same allowance. Okay, I hope you understand what I mean here. All right, okay, so I'll just connect. Right, so I'll paste the underbust chart on the screen. All right, so whatever you have as your underbust chart or your curve, just take out half inch from it, mark it towards the side front, then add the remaining half inch to the center front. All right, so I'll take up my bust span line to the bust point now. Okay, then come down by 1 inch. Then I'll now make my curve. Okay, so I'll use the curvy part of my ruler to create that curve. All right, so that's the bustier curve. Remember, we're making a princess dart bustier. So this is the bustier curve, okay, and it's from 1 inch below the bust point, and this is to avoid sharp edges around the bust point. Now the next thing I'll do will be to take my armhole dart. This is an armhole princess dart bustier. Okay, so you can just do, okay, so you can decide to, you know, mark half of your armhole. Okay, but because I also need to take a dart at the armhole, I'm going to mark 3 inches. Okay, like I said, you can decide to mark half of your armhole and start taking your dart from there, but I like to just come down by 3 inches. Okay, from that slanted line I measure 3 inches because I need to take darts here. Okay, so that I'm coming down by 3 inches, so I'll make a mark at 3 inches. Now I'll connect it to the bust point. I'll connect that mark there to the bust point. Okay, then I'll also come up by 1 inch. You can see that connecting that line already gave me a sharp point, so I'll go up by 1 inch so that when I curve my dart I won't have a pointy edge. All right, so towards the center front you can make a dart of half inch, then towards the side front you do 1 inch, but I want a very full curve, so I won't do half inch towards the center front. I'll just do 1 inch, so I'm doing 1 inch on both sides of the dart line at the armhole. Okay, so 1 inch towards the center front, 1 inch towards the side front. So I'm going to connect it to 1 inch before the bust point. Okay, that line I made there, that mark I made there. Okay, I'm just going to connect it like so. All right, so I also connect the other one like so. Okay, so you can use the straight part of your ruler to do this. Okay, just, or the not so curvy part. Okay, we don't want to have it too sharp. All right, so that's why I'm going just like this. Okay, so I'm just trying to find a rhythm. Okay, just so that you're to balance, I'll just use this part. Okay, because I don't want to have a very sharp point. Right, so when I'm done, I'll then blend it properly. Okay, so this is how your bustier should be like. You can see that sharp point there. So I'll come with the bottom of my ruler and blend it properly. okay, and that is settled. Okay, we no longer have that pointy edge at the bust point. You can see I've remedied that. Right, so we are done. The next thing will just be to replace all the darts we're taking out. Okay, so I took a dart of 2 inches at the armhole. I'm replacing that 2 inches on the chest line. Then when I cut out this dart, I'll need 1/2 inch on both sides to sew it, and that's 1 inch. I'm marking 1 inch here. Now towards the underbust, I took a dart of 3 inches, so I'm replacing that 3 inches, okay, plus 1 inch to sew the darts together. All right, so the same thing for the half length. I'm replacing the 3 inches dart plus 1 inch to sew it up together. Now towards the length of the blouse, I also took a dart of 3 inches, so I'll just make that up. Okay, 3 inches plus 1 inch to sew it. Okay, so I'll connect all the points like so. All right, so you make sure you connect all the points like so. Right, so this is how to draft your princess dart bustier, your off-shoulder princess dart bustier. Now for your neck depth, okay, it depends on what you want. You can set to come down by 1 inch, 1.5, depending on how deep you want and how much cleavage you want to expose. So I just came down by 1 inch and I'll connect it to the neck width, and that's how the neckline would be. All right, so I'm just going to take out the tape from it, then cut out my pattern. Right, so I'm going to start cutting now. Okay, and I want you to pay attention to how I cut. Okay, around the bust area, you're going to make sure you cut in a curvy manner so you don't have sharp points. Okay, so I'm going to start cutting now. I'll cut through the half length because, like I said, I don't want to have a full length blouse. I'll just show you how you can cut it as a full length blouse and also as a half length blouse that you want to attach peplum to. All right, so I'll cut through the length, then cut through the side seam, then to the armhole like so.
Mama, you're weaving on your body.
All right, so you cut through the
so armhole. So I'm weaving now.
Like so. Right, okay, so if you're watching till this point, you are still watching till now, please have you subscribed? Please subscribe, turn on your post notifications so that each time I post a new video you will be notified. Also, please help me to like this video so that more people would be notified to watch the video. All right, so please also share with your friends. I know I'm asking for 2 more, but please oblige me, like, share and subscribe. Okay, so I hope you're seeing the way I'm cutting. Okay, gently around this bust point area, gently, just be covering it in, yes, like so, just so that you don't have a sharp point. So you can see my side piece, you can see how beautiful it is. All right, so we'll also cut out the darts towards this area. Okay, so just gently. All right, so towards this side you also want to shape it in like so. Right, okay, then you now cut off the remaining darts, okay, at the armhole, and that's it. The next thing will just be to cut off your neckline. Now, so if you want to have a full length blouse, okay, this is it. So this will be the center front and this will be the side front. Now I want to attach a 1440 degree peplum to this. All right, so I'll just remove the neckline first. Okay, so I want to add a 1440 degree peplum to this, so I'll trim off from the half length. Okay, I don't want it to be a full blouse. Okay, so this is how you're going to join. You can see you're going to start joining from the lower part anyways, so you can see that everything matches up. Okay, so I'll just trim off from the half length. I just want to attach my peplum to this. Okay, so I'll cut it off. Remember, I've added my seam allowance. I added 1/2 inch to the half length. Okay, so I have all my allowances ready. Okay, I'm covered. Right, so this is it. All right, side front, center front. All right, so just go keep it aside and go pad it, transfer your pattern to your fabric, then you go pad. I have a detailed tutorial here on this channel on how to pad your princess that bustier. Okay, so that video will suffice for padding it. Okay, so for the back, I'm going to mark my 1.5 inches zip allowance all through from the starting point to the length. Okay, so I'm marking 1.5 inches, which is my zip allowance. Right, so I'm going to connect it into a straight line. All right, so that's my zip allowance. Okay, so I've just created my zip allowance. So the same thing I did for the front, I'll take out 5 inches from the shoulder. Okay, so I'll mark the chest line. Remember, I've already done the chest line. That's for my bust divided by 12 by 6 plus 2 inches, so that's 9.5. all right, so I'll then mark my half length, which is 18 plus half inch, that's 18 and a half. Okay, so I'll go and connect the points. Right, okay, so after doing that, I'm just going to create my basic bodies. Okay, just the bodies. Okay, so on the chest line, okay, I'm going to mark quarter of the bust measurement. So that's the chest line, this is the half length. So on the chest line, I'm going to mark the bust divided by 4. Okay, so my bust is 44 divided by 4, that's 11 plus 2 inches seam allowance. And on the half length, I'll mark the waist divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance. Okay, so I'm just going to connect them together. Right, so I'll then mark my bust span, which is 8 divided by 4 plus half inch, but 8 divided by 2, that's 4 plus half inch, that's 4.5, please. So that's my bust span. Okay, so I've connected. Then if you want a normal waist dart for the back, okay, just mark half inch on both sides of the bust span line, then connect to the chest line. Okay, so this would be your dart for the back. Okay, that's just it. Then at the shoulder point, I'll just mark my 6 inches. Okay, you know how we got 6 inches, then I'll slant it to the chest line. Okay, so if you don't want a princess bustier at the back, this is just your back pattern. All right, so but because I want a princess bustier at the back, I would do exactly what I did to the front. So remember, we did 3 inches. All right, so I'll mark 3 inches. Okay, remember we did 3 inches, not 2, 3 inches. So I'll mark 3 inches. Okay, then we're not going to connect to the chest line now, because it's going to give us a very sharp point. Okay, so we're going to introduce the bust point. Okay, this is the back, so don't be wondering what bust point is doing there. So my bust point is 11. Okay, so I just made a mark at 11. Okay, right, so that's where I'm going to connect the dart to. Okay, so I'm going to connect the half inch dart on the half length. Okay, I'll connect it to the bust point. All right, so this is if you want to make a princess dart at the back. Okay, if you want to have your princess dart at the back, then remember the 3 inches we marked at the armhole, you connect it to the bust point. Okay, so that way we don't have so much of a pointy line. Now on the armhole, I'll just take a dart of half inch on both sides of the armhole. Okay, then connect to the bust point like so. Okay, so you can see what I have there. If I made it to the chest line, it would have had a very pointy edge. Okay, so that's why I introduced the bust point. Right, so you just make sure you blend properly so that you don't have sharp points at the bust point. Okay, so that is it. Now it's time for dart replacement. So we took a dart of 1 inch. I'm going to replace 1 inch plus 1 inch to sew the dart together, so that's 2 inches. Right, so on the half length, took a dart of 1 inch plus 1 inch to couple the darts, that's 2 inches. Right, so I'm just going to connect, and that is it. Okay, so this is your back bodies. Now there's something I like to do. Okay, for the neckline, sorry, I'm going to leave the neckline as straight as it is. Okay, you can just come down by half inch, 1 inch, whatever you want for the back, but I just want mine to be straight. Right, so I'll then cut this out. Now towards the center back, Okay, I'm going to reduce zip bulge. Okay, there's one thing I do to reduce zip bulge, and if you've been following me, you also know what I do. All right, so for now I'll just cut through my armhole. Right, okay, so I just have my pattern. Okay, my pattern drafted. So the next thing will be to just reduce back bulge, like I said. So instead of cutting out the darts, okay, before I cut out, I'm just going to do that. Okay, don't just cut out your dart and start reducing back bulge. You do it first before cutting out your dart. So I'll mark 1.5 inches at the center back, okay, towards that zip allowance area. Then make a slant line to the side back, right, like that. Okay, so then we're going to trim it off. Okay, so this is going to help us reduce your zipper bulge. Okay, zipper bulge at the back. Okay, this is because the front and the back are not the same length. Okay, the front half length and the back half length is not the same. All right, so after that you can now trim off your darts. Right, so this is it. Okay, you can cut off your darts then towards this point. Okay, so you also want to make sure that you don't have sharp points at this edge. So I'm just going to blend it in a little bit with my scissors. You can see, okay, you don't want to have a sharp point at that area. All right, so take off the remaining dart like so. So that's how to have a princess dart at the back of your pattern. All right, so this is an off shoulder princess dart Bustier tutorial, and I hope you found it helpful. So the next thing will be to show you how to make sleeves for an off shoulder. I already have a very detailed tutorial on my channel on how to make the sleeves. Okay, so this is center back and side back, but because this is I want to incorporate everything to this video, I'm going to show us how to draft your off shoulder sleeve. Okay, so I already have a detailed tutorial. I've said that before, you can check that out. Okay, I'm also going to explain to you now. So you need your shoulder circumference or the round shoulder. Okay, shoulder circumference or round shoulder, that you can call it any of them. So my round shoulder is 49. Then you also need the upper bust, and the upper bust is your neck width measurement. Okay, so for the front we have 6, and you know it's on fold. Okay, so 6 plus 6, that's 12. For the back, okay, that's the back that we just done. That is the front. We have 6. It's supposed to be on fold, so that will be 6 plus 6, that's 12. Okay, so 12 for the front and for the back, that's 24. I hope you understand that. Okay, the neck width for the front is 6. If you open it up, you have 12. The same thing for the back because the pattern is on fold. Okay, so 12 in the front, 12 at the back, that's 24. So I'm going to subtract 24 from 49. Okay, and that gave me 25. Right, so this 25 now is the figure we are working with. So because we're going to have 2 sleeves, okay, one for the left hand side and one for the right hand side, and the 2 sleeves you're going to fold it into 2, so that's 4. 2 sleeves, then fold it into 2, that's 4. So we're going to divide 25 by 4, and it gave me 6.25. so 6.25 is now my sleeve opening. Okay, that will be what I used to draft my sleeve. So just have in mind that we have 6.25. Right, so I'm going to get my pattern for my sleeve. Okay, so this is the pattern I'm going to be using. Now I would mark the length of my sleeve, okay, depending on what you want. Okay, I'm just marking 5 inches plus 2 inches seam allowance. I can do 6. I don't like having a long sleeve as my shoulder sleeve. Okay, your preference might vary, but I just like having a small subtle sleeve. You know, I don't like having a very long sleeve. Okay, so this is my sleeve length plus my seam or hemming allowance. Now the next thing would be to mark your 6.25, right? Okay, so remember we have 6.25. You know how we got it now. Okay, so no need for long talk. 6.25. So I'm going to mark the 6.25. We've done all the divisions. They want everything. We've just done it. So you just need to mark that 6.25 there. Alright, so that is it there. So the next thing you would do would be to introduce your cap height. Okay, so your cap height is your bust divided by 12 plus 1. So your cap height is necessary for anytime you're making a sleeve. So anytime you're making a sleeve, you need your cap height, and like I said, it's your bust divided by 12 plus 1. So I've marked my cap height right there. That's my cap height. Now, yes, that's it, cap height. So now what I would do, cap height, sleeve length, yeah, seam allowance, yeah, Alright, so what I'll do will be to mark my chest line measurement on the cap height. Remember, my chest line is 9.5. Remember when we are drafting our pattern, like I said, the chest line is derived by dividing your bust by 6 plus 2. Bust is 44 divided by 2, but divided by 6 is 7.3 plus 2, that's 9.3, approximately 9.5. So I'm marking 9.5 here. Okay, so that's my chest line. Alright, so I've marked it on the cap height. So what you will now do would be to connect it like so. Okay, you can blend it. Okay, you can hold it from, you can get your basic, your body's block, okay, and trace the sleeve. Okay, you can do it and trace the sleeve. Okay, or you can just place it to match up with your cap height. Okay, or you can just slant from the cap height to your 6.25 line that will be there. Either of it gives you a very beautiful off shoulder sleeve. Okay, so you can see, if I follow the slant line, you can see that I also have my sleeve. Okay, you can see that it matches up with my sleeve. Right, another thing you can do would just be to trace your sleeve like so. Just trace your armhole. Yes, just trace your armhole. Okay, so you can do this or you can do the other method. Okay, just slant to your chest line. Okay, either way it gives you the same thing. Okay, or you can also bring your sleeve length, okay, or your armhole, and make sure you slant it to the cap height. Okay, so on the sleeve length, I'm marking my sleeve, my round sleeve divided by 2. Okay, so my round sleeve is 14 divided by 2, that's 7. So I just connect it like so. So depending on the one you want, this is how you get your off shoulder sleeve. Okay, but I wouldn't be doing this one now, okay, because making my cap height or marking my cap height gives me a little bit of freedom at the armhole. So if you notice that sometimes when you make off shoulders, to raise up your hands, sometimes I cannot even raise up your hands and praise the Lord. So what I just do is to use my cap height. Okay, it gives me a little bit of freedom so that I can raise my hands and sing praises to the Almighty, so wave my hands, say hallelujah. All right, so that is it. Okay, so